Hello everyone! If you're new here, my name is Aiden. Welcome to my channel. Now, I got the idea for this video maybe a week or so ago. I was talking to my friend about stories that have made us cry and how for some reason I seem to almost never cry for a book or a movie or a TV show. Now, I do sometimes. It's just very, very hard to make me cry. And so I was thinking, what books have I read over the years that have actually made me cry? And so I wanted to make a video about it and show you all of those books because I counted, and on Goodreads, out of 129 books that I've read, at least that I've logged, only 7 have made me cry. And so these are a special 7 books. Now, these aren't necessarily my favorite books, but they are ones that I probably really enjoyed or that were really into, because that's kind of one of the criteria that a book has to have to make me cry. I have to be really into it and really emotionally involved in the characters. So if a book made me cry, it's probably a really good book. So I did this by looking at my Goodreads account. So I started my Goodreads in 2017, and so this is basically all of the books that have made me cry in the 4-year period of 2017 to now. Or around 4 years. 3 years. 3.5. Ooh, math. Okay, so starting off, 2017, we'll go by year here. 0 books made me cry in 2017. The tearometer is suffering, let me just say. And then 3 books made me cry in 2018, so we're doing better. The first book was the 5th Harry Potter. The 5th Harry Potter is my favorite Harry Potter. I think it was probably when... I don't want to spoil, but I feel like if you haven't read or seen Harry Potter, then you probably wouldn't be watching this. So in the 5th book, yeah, I think I cried then. I didn't cry in the 6th book though. I don't know. Anyway, so I only cried at the 5th book in that series. It was really good. It was my favorite book. Okay, the next book that made me cry in 2018 is Immortal Heights by Sherry Thomas. It's the 3rd book in the Burning Sky trilogy, and I briefly mentioned Burning Sky in my last video, the Cinderella is Dead book talk, but I just mentioned it because it had one of the same tropes. But the series is so good. It's one of the series that started me reading. This series is largely responsible for me getting into reading, starting to like reading more. It's really good. Maybe it's not literary perfection. However, I am emotionally attached to these books. And the 3rd one definitely made me cry. Definitely. Probably multiple times, because I've read the series I think 4 times. So I definitely recommend it. Burning Sky is... So the main character is this elemental mage, and she... Oh, this is really hard to summarize. She goes on this wild adventure with a prince named Titus, and they're awesome. The dynamic between them, whew! Read the book. Okay, the next book that I read in 2018 that made me cry was Strange the Dreamer. If you don't know, Strange the Dreamer is my favorite book of all time. The quote in my bio on Instagram is a quote from Laini Taylor from Strange the Dreamer. It goes, "Dream up something wild and improbable, something beautiful and full of monsters." That's what I want my life to be like. I want my life to be wild and improbable and beautiful and full of monsters. Yes, please. So I cried at the end of that book. If you've read it, you know what happens, but also you'll know what happens after the prologue. It's stupid. It has to do with a god falling from the sky. Read the hecking book. It's so freaking good, and the writing is so freaking beautiful, and I love Laszlo. I'm going to name my dog after Laszlo. When I get settled, I want 2 dogs, Laszlo and Lila. Laszlo is from Strange the Dreamer, and Lila is from A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Good stuff. Or is it Victoria Schwab? It's either V.E. or Victoria, but it's the same person. It's just different pen name. Okay, so moving on to 2019, I really dropped the ball on my reading game in 2019. I only read 17 books the entire year, and to put that in perspective, right now I'm at 34 books for this year. So like, why did I just not read last year? That's really weird. But the one book that made me cry in 2019 was Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. Now I don't have that book with me, but Kingdom of Ash is the last book in the Throne of Glass series. And if you haven't read this series, what are you doing? How do you exist? I feel like this is probably the most popular YA fantasy series ever. Like, even if you don't like YA fantasy, I feel like you probably should have read this series. Anyway, people have a lot of mixed feelings on it. I am one of the people who absolutely adore it. I am obsessed with Throne of Glass. Just love it. So the last book made me cry so many times. Like, multiple times within the book, which is special because normally if a book makes me cry, normally it's just like once at the end or like once in the middle, sometime like that, but Kingdom of Ash made me cry multiple times. Like with the 13 and Selena at the beginning, and it's really good. You should totally read Throne of Glass, and also read Sarah J. Maas's other series, Court of Thorns and Roses. That one is, I think people like that one a little bit less. I like it a little bit less. I think I like Throne of Glass better than A Court of Thorns and Roses, but I still really liked that trilogy. It's still worth a read for me. I like all of Sarah J. Maas's books are just like my guilty pleasure. I just love them so freaking much. Okay, so moving on to 2020. 3 books made me cry in 2020, and so this is the last like 3 out of the 7. So the first book that made me cry in 2020 was A Tale of Two Cities, Charles Dickens. This one, it's weird that it made me cry because normally I don't really get into classics very much, but I think I just really like Charles Dickens books. Like Oliver Twist, I loved that one. It didn't make me cry, but I really loved that one too. I cried at the end because Sydney Carton just like has my entire heart. I think if I end up doing undergrad research or if I get into grad school, I'll definitely be writing something about Dickens books. I want to read more, like Great Expectations and everything, because I've only read A Tale of Two Cities and Oliver Twist. Okay, and then the next book that made me cry in 2020 was actually at the beginning of this book, or maybe towards the middle. It was Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I cried when we learn about Kvothe's backstory with the Adima Ra and his like stint in that city homeless, and his life just sucks at the beginning. And like, I love Kvothe. I just really love him, and so all of that was so heart-wrenching, and I definitely cried. But the second book didn't make me cry. I don't think. No. Just the first one. Those books are so good. You should go read them. The third book, I don't even know if it's coming out, but maybe it will in a few years. It's already been, I think, 7 years in the making. Maybe Patrick Rothfuss will finish writing it. Maybe he won't. We'll see. But those are really good. You should go read them. Just go read them. Yeah, this video is just me fangirling about the books I love, like, honestly. The last book that I've ever read that's made me cry was very recently, and I actually told you guys about this. And it is Words on Bathroom Walls by Julia Walton. I said this in my video and in a post on Instagram. I said, I am not ashamed to admit that this book made me sob like a baby. And it really did. It's not, okay, so it's not my favorite book of all time, not like one of my favorites, but I was so into it that by the end, when he kind of has the breakdown, I guess, I'm trying not to spoil too much, but near the end, I just cried. So I read this, I finished this at like 2 o'clock in the morning in my dorm, and my roommate was asleep, so I was just like sitting at my desk trying to stay quiet with my sobs so I didn't wake her up. That was an interesting night, Maybe the fact that it was 2 a.m. kind of contributed to the crying, but so far I think 2020 is probably gonna have the most books that I cried, probably because I'm reading the most books in 2020. I think my high score was in 2017. I read 37 books all year, at least according to my Goodreads. This year I'm already at 34 and we have a few months to go. So maybe I'll cry again, maybe I'll cry more, we'll see. We'll see. Please recommend the books that have made you cry in the comments, because I love it when books make you feel things, because I don't know, that's when you know they really resonate with you a lot, if they make you feel things. I think it's next up, after maybe 2 more books, I'm going to read A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, and I've heard that that makes everyone cry. Now, because I'm expecting it to make me cry, maybe it won't, but maybe it still will anyway. We're not sure. But my book talk for next month this is important information. I want to do a book talk every single month, and for next month I'm going to do the book talk over A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. So if you want to read that along with me, and then when you watch the video next month, then you can chat with me and you'll like be on the same wavelength. That's all I have for you guys today. So my next video is going to be a 24-hour readathon. It's not like an event or anything, but if you want to stay tuned for that one, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification so that you get notified when I post a new video. And if you liked this video, drop a like. I would appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.